action. Hello, welcome. Welcome to Show and Tell. I'm Billy, I'm your host. And today I have a guest with me. Her name is Kiana, and she is the owner of a fairly new yarn shop in Manhattan's West Village neighborhood. It's called West Village Knit and Needle. So in a moment, we'll be joining her. But before we do, I just want to mention a couple of things. First of which is you can find me on Ravelry as billietoy, and also there's a Ravelry group called Show and Tell. We're in the midst of a knit along right now, and I'll put information in the show notes below. We're knitting a 1949 cardigan. Here's a little bit of the back of my cardigan. But we've been recording live. So on Thursdays, we have two more sessions. Thursdays at 2:30 New York time. Again, details will be in the show notes below. So you might want to pop in and join us for that. Did I hear you ask, what am I wearing? This is something I knit back in 1983. I will put the information, link to my Ravelry page in the show notes below, but it's partly silk and there's bobbles all around. I also have a pink cameo. It's not coming up very well in the light, and some vintage pink earrings. Okay, I think that's enough about me for today. In a moment, I'll be back with my guest. Stay tuned. In a city that's consumption oriented, it's important to keep the arts alive. Anytime a new yarn shop opens, it's cause for celebration, but especially in Manhattan, where we only have a handful to service our densely populated island. Not to mention, we lost one or two just before and during the pandemic. Today, my guest is a woman who had the foresight to open a new LYS smack in the middle of a pandemic, when lots of other businesses were shuttering their storefronts. I'm particularly excited because it's so close to where I live. It's only about a 20-minute walk. In fact, I would have loved to have done this interview in person, but we'd still have to be wearing masks. And that would not have been fun. Up until now, all the people I've interviewed have been very far away from me. Kiana happens to be nearby, but again, there will come a day when we'll be able to finally meet in person. For the people who don't know the West Village, I'm going to ask her to please paint a picture for us. But before you do that, I just want to say it is one of the most charming neighborhoods in New York. In fact, Ed Koch, who was a 4-term mayor, I think he served New York City as mayor for 16 years. He had the opportunity to live in Gracie Mansion, which is a beautiful home for our mayors that has a park surrounding it. Maybe I can insert a picture here. He could have lived in Gracie Mansion, but he chose to stay in his apartment in the West Village. So with that, here's Kiana. Tell us the address of your shop and paint a picture for us of what the rest of the street looks like, the scale of the buildings, what shops are on the street, and then we'll talk about what possessed you to do this. So
yes,
take it away.
Absolutely. So I moved to the West Village in 2006. And I primarily moved here because, you know, back then I was young, not so young anymore, but it was a, you know, area where, you know, a lot of students lived and a lot of, you know, people my age at the time, you know, had lived, and I fell in love with it. And exactly what you said, I fell in love with it because it was so charming. I would walk around the streets with my father and I'd be like, oh, that's such a cute building. That's such a cute building. Look how cute this park is, you know. Excuse me. So that's, I fell in love with it, moved here in 2006. and it exceeded my expectations. I think it's one of the very few true, to me, true neighborhoods left in the city where, you know, I'm friends with my dry cleaner. I am friends with my pharmacist. All the shop owners, we know each other by name. It's a really great community. People still say hi on the streets when you walk by. We know all the dog walkers. We know all the locals. It's just tree-lined, charming brownstones, boutiques, amazing restaurants. I really can't say enough about the West Village and the community. I think it's the people that make it, you know, so great. So I fell in love with it in 2006, and I've been living here ever since. The shop is located on West 10th Street, between Bleecker and Hudson, closer to Bleecker. And it's amazing. 10th Street has had a revitalization in the last, you know, 6 months. Once things started to open back up, we got an amazing bookstore that moved to our block, 3 Lives. No, 3 Lives used to be a little bit more east of us, and this is actually their temporary location for a year. I hope they stay. But 3 Lives bookstore, which has been around, you know, for many, many years, really beloved, really has a good following. And we have a nice relationship. You know, we send people to them, they send people to us. People come in and out with, you know, each other's bags. It's really a great relationship. And then we have Oslo Coffee Shop on this block, which is also a great addition. I mean, there's a line for Oslo, you know, pretty much any given day. The coffee is amazing. We have Housing Works at the end of the block, which is always a New York City staple and beloved and everybody loves. And we have another secondhand store across the street as well. It's just a great, great street to be on. And L'Artusi, one of the best restaurants in all of Manhattan, is directly across the street.
So for my, excuse me, for my vintage people, know that these secondhand shops probably have things that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, they're amazing shops, both of them.
I did a little search on Google Maps, so I saw that you are right next door to a police station.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel safe?
It does, absolutely. You know, we're, you know, friendly with the cops, and they're our neighbors, and I've been friendly with them before. I actually live in the building that the shop is in. So I know a few of them, and I love being next to the police station. It's actually kind of great. You feel safe. They're, you know, it's a great addition to the block. I mean, not addition, they were probably here first, but part of our block, I should say.
I think for people who are not New Yorkers, what Kiana's saying about her neighborhood is true of many New York neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
I feel that way in my neighborhood as well. If your neighborhood is residential, I mean, probably if you live midtown, maybe not so much, but all of the other neighborhoods, like if you lived in Little Italy, or if you lived in Chinatown or Upper West Side, I think it's the same, certainly in my neighborhood. I can't say that my dry cleaner is my friend, but it's somebody who knows me. I don't have to give them my name when I walk in. They know my address. They know my apartment number. They know that my husband likes his shirts done in a particular way, and so on. So that's not so unique to the West Village, but what is unique to the West Village is the scale of the buildings. There's no skyscrapers there.
Nope.
And I'll put a picture of your street because it's just as cute as can be. Okay, let's talk about yarn a little bit. Can you tell my viewers how you went about choosing yarns? Because I'm assuming that you had never had a yarn shop before. This is your first time?
Correct. Yeah.
So I'd like to have a little insight into how you went about choosing the first lines to carry. Did you select any local dyers? Do you have any yarns that are exclusive to you? And then I know that they're ethically sourced and environmentally conscious. So I want you to talk about all of that. Talk about the yarn that we can buy if we come to your shop.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was not an easy task to pick yarn because you love them all, you want them all, you know, so it was definitely a difficult process to go about choosing. I'm very fortunate that I have 3 girls that work with me, and all of us, between the four of us, we've been in this industry, you know, two of them for 5 years and one of them for 16 years and, you know, me for 10 years. So we were, you know, at least we had knowledge of what we wanted to do and where we wanted to start. I certainly couldn't have done it, you know, by myself. With the help of my staff, you know, we the age old way, we started going on their websites, started reading about them, their, you know, the vendors as far as how they dye their yarns, where they source their wool from. We knew of a few that we definitely wanted, and we knew in advance that they are, you know, ethically sourced wool. And then, believe it or not, I ordered one skein before the shop even opened, a couple months, 3 months before the shop opened, of all the yarns that I wanted to test out and knit with and knit swatches with and feel and touch. And for 2 months straight, I knit, I think, probably 40 squares of yarn and tested each one out, knitted and crocheted with each one myself to really get the feel and to see what exactly we wanted. And from there, we tried to be a little diverse. So from there, we tried to do narrow it down by weight and narrow it down, having a diverse fibers, you know, having a little bit of silk, having a little bit of cotton. So it was kind of a combination of four minds thinking together, reading, you know, about these companies and then knitting with the actual yarn.
And tell us when you opened. Was it August?
Yeah, no, it was actually our soft opening was December 14th of 2020.
December.
Yeah, for 2 weeks, we had a soft launch that was by appointment only. And then we opened to the public on January 1st of 2021.
So it's been just a very short while.
Not even 5 months. Yeah.
Now, what possessed you to do this? Was that location vacant for a long time?
Yeah. So it was, again, it was a combination of things that led me to open the store and a few serendipitous things that happen. Of course, we wish that COVID never happened, but one of the silver linings is, you know, the rent price dropping. So that was certainly a big, probably the biggest factor. It was basically, we were in lockdown and I'm on the board of my building that I live in, that the store is also in. And we would have Zoom board meetings and, you know, they brought up that the space downstairs is still vacant and that the rent prices were, slightly lowered. And that was it. I knew that was my moment. It basically came down to, this is the time to do it. You know, people often say to me, and when I say often, I mean every day, say, you're so brave to open up a store in a pandemic. I say, this is the only store I could have opened in a pandemic. And it's also a gut feeling, you know, when you know it's right, you know, it's the right time. And I did a tremendous amount of research in lockdown. I read everything I could get my hands on as far as sustainable yarn and ethically sourced yarn. And for about 3 months straight, April, May, and June, I ferociously read and wrote on all, you know, fiber arts related material and wrote a 42-page business plan to actually open the store. So
good for you.
Yeah, so I have 2 speeds. I have go and stop. I don't have an in between. And in lockdown, I needed to do something, and that was how I put, you know, all of my attention and energy, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what I did in lockdown.
So you should ask me how I knew that. I'm going to divulge because
Yeah.
I am a little bit of a sleuth. So
Yeah.
In Google, we trust. I went on Google
Yeah.
Maps, and you know, in Google Maps, in the lower right-hand corner, I think it is, they show you the date that picture was taken.
Yeah.
And the picture wasn't current. It was at least a couple years old. And I thought I saw that store empty.
Yeah.
In Google Maps, in like the
Yeah.
street view. And
Yeah.
I thought, gee, I wonder if that store's been empty a long time. Maybe this woman was able to get a really good deal on the rent because
That's it. You
Today
nailed
in
it. Yeah.
Manhattan, every other store is vacant because of the pandemic. I mean, for months, it's a year already that a lot of people haven't really left their apartments much except to go to the pharmacy and go to the supermarket. So,
Right.
very little shopping, no restaurant dining.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought, geez, she probably got a really good deal, and either
Yep.
she was super brave or it was just a good business strategy. So it sounds
I-
like it was a little bit of both.
It was definitely both. Yeah, for sure. And the space had been empty for a few years. And
Wow.
yeah, and the space, as you can imagine, when a space is left empty for a few years, the condition of the space declines. So when we signed the lease on October 9th. And me and my amazing staff put the entire store, including construction, including a website, including inventory. We put the entire store together in 10 weeks. It was certainly not an easy task. It was extremely hard, but extremely rewarding. I wouldn't actually change a thing. I really wouldn't have in my whole process.
Oh, it's so wonderful to hear. I mean, it's real. I'm so glad that I took a little detour from the type of show that I normally do, which is interviewing people who love vintage and knit from vintage patterns. You're, a little bit of a sidestep for me, but I thought there's an opportunity for people to know more about wool. So I just think this is great. Now tell us about your website. What's the URL, and can people order online? Do you ship?
Yes, absolutely. So the website is WV for West Village, knitandneedle.com, and the and spelled out. So it's WVKNITANDNEEDLE.com.
I'll put it on the screen. They'll be
Okay.
able to see it, and I'll put it
Okay.
in the
Oh,
show
perfect.
notes as well. And Kiana has been generous enough for anyone who supports this channel to offer a 10% discount. And the instructions on how to do that will be in the show notes below. So
Great.
thank you for that.
Of course.
Let's-
And yes, all of our yarn and everything is on our website. And we ship anywhere, even international. And we also have a pickup service as well. So you can actually go onto our website, order the yarn for pickup later, which is a really good thing to do, because then we can wind it for you. You don't have to wait. So we offer both services. All of our, the entire store is actually online. You can purchase anything.
But if people are ordering to have it shipped somewhere else and they want it wound,
Yes, we
do
do
you
that as
do
well.
that for free, or is
Yep.
there a charge?
Nope, it's totally free.
Free. Okay. What else do I want to ask you? Oh yeah, I would love for you to give us a little spin around the shop, but I also wanted to know, well, I wanted to say, for people who don't know New York, and even for myself, I lived here a long time before I became aware that behind all the cute little brownstones, what you call townhouses in the rest of the world,
Yeah.
are brownstones in New York. Behind all those facades, unbeknownst to you when you're walking by on the street, especially if you're a tourist, there's a huge courtyard. So if this is the block and there's houses here, stores here, houses here, whatever, in the center of that whole block is a huge courtyard on just about every block in Manhattan. And you can really only see it from overhead. So like if you watch the movie West Side Story, they do an aerial view at the very beginning of the film, you'll see all these little courtyards. So I believe that Kiana's shop has some outdoor space behind it going into that courtyard. Is that something that you're able to take us on a little walk and show us?
Yes and no. Unfortunately, I have a fence going up today, a new fence.
Oh.
And it's a little crazy out there today, but I'm happy, to send you pictures. It's actually blocked off today. I can't get out there today.
If you have a picture or two, I'll insert them so people can see. I bet it's really cute.
Yeah, the new, it's going to be open in a couple weeks. If people would like to come and bring a bottle of wine and stitch with their friends and We have two tables of 4 that can stay socially distant, you know, so if people would like to reserve, it won't be just open, you know, like any day, anytime. We're going to ask for reservations and, you know, names, just so that we can be responsible, of course, in COVID and do things the proper way. But going to probably try to have it opened maybe a Wednesday evenings for people to come and stitch and hang out, and if they would like to bring, you know, a snack, a bottle of wine, and hopefully Saturday afternoons as well. That's what we're aiming for. It's really, really pretty out there. It's completely private. It belongs solely to me, so you know, nobody else can come in and out of there. It belongs to me and my husband. So it's a great little thing to have, especially in this day and age when we're craving being outside and being outside of our apartments.
What are your shop hours otherwise? Are you 7 days a week?
Yep, we're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 6, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Yep, 7 days a week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So give us a little spin around the
Sure.
shop so we can see how beautiful it is.
Absolutely.
I haven't been there.
Oh, you'll get here.
I definitely will.
So let me flip this camera around. Figure out how to do that on my. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So when you enter into the store, this is what it looks like from the front door. And then the yarn kind of goes by vendor and by weight. So, for example, this is the beautiful hedgehog yarn, which comes from Cork from Ireland. Super popular, and we have it in 3 different weights. We have it in the mohair, the alpaca DK, and the fingering weight. Huge hit. Our biggest seller and probably our most popular yarn. This is the Wool Folk wall. So we have Far up there, the yarn, and then we have Luft, and then we have Flet, and we have the handwork as well.
Those look beautiful for vintage knitters because they look like they're a pretty solid color. There's no speckling. There's no, you know, contemporary look. They look very beautiful.
They're extremely soft, extremely versatile. People just can't get enough of the Far yarn. It's really stunning.
Good price too, it looks like.
Yeah, it's got good yardage, good price. And then this wall has a little bit of a mix. So we have Manos, which is one of my favorite vendors, and yarn on the top. That is the Fino yarn, which I personally can't get enough of. If I could knit everything in Fino, I would. I'm actually making a gorgeous vest for my husband with this yarn. That's Patagonia from Juniper Moon. Then we have the unbelievably soft, silky yarn from Blue Sky called Metallico. We have some Eco Cashmere, which is from Nordic Yarns, which is really soft.
It's 100% cashmere?
It is 100% cashmere. You got it. I'll show you the label. Yeah, it's really great yarn. And this is also a huge hit with our store, a huge seller. So this yarn is called, it's from Ovis, etc. And we have 2 weights of it. So this is called Dimidium, which is the DK weight. And then, let's see if I can, Dimidium. And then we have the fingering weight, which is called the Ignia. I never know how to pronounce that correctly. This yarn comes to us for Germany. I think currently we're the only store in the US. We're one of 2 stores in the US to carry it. The other store is in Chicago. It knits up like a dream. It is, and one of the reasons we chose this yarn, I don't know if you can see it yet. There we go. On the label, do you see where it says GOTS certified?
Yes. What is that?
Yeah, so GOT certified is one of the highest levels of certification that you can have for organic yarn and ethically sourced yarn. It's a certification for fabrics and textiles. And then we have the cubbies, which are, oh man, endless, endless beauty. And we have a few vendors. So we have a little bit more of the blue sky. We have some Malabrigo here. We also carry some Quince & Co. We have a local yarn up here, which is amazing, from Oysters and Pearls. And those are botanically dyed. They're gorgeous. And then another one of our favorites is O Wool. They're an amazing company as well. And we have 3, different weights in the O Wool. And then we have the Juniper Moon, which is a Santa Cruz. So it's a little bit bigger than the Patagonia. And then we have all the bells and whistles, all the needles you could want, stitch markers. We pretty much carry all the accessories and everything you could want. We even have ethically sourced pom-poms from Toft. These are amazing. And like these ones are not dyed. These are the actual colors of the alpaca. And then this is the store from the other side.
It looks just divine.
Oh, thank you.
For me personally, I love that everything seems to be solid color.
Except for the head.
I'm like a solid color kind of gal. And I think a lot of vintage knitters are too. Jessie, one of my early guests, knits a lot with Quince & Co. because she loves that the colors, there's a lot of color variety and they're solid. So
yeah, we're trying to get, in the wake of COVID, of course, it's, the hand dyers are struggling, they're struggling to where they get their raw wool from. A lot of these small indie dyers, don't necessarily make enough at the moment. So we are getting more indie dyers in the next few months, which will have more speckled. So we really are trying to change it by season, keep it fresh, always have new stuff coming in, a really good base of solids, a good base of speckled and variegated. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover with you. And unless there's something else that you want to tell people, I think this has been just like a really, delightful chance to meet you. And I hope to meet you in person someday.
Please come visit the shop. And I want to say thank you for reaching out and, asking to interview me and doing this. And
it's pleasure.
It's really great.
I want to wish you the very, very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you again.
Come visit soon.
Okay.
And I'll send you some pictures.
Great. That'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.